I never thought a Craigslist ad would change my life forever, but here we are. It was late August, and I was sitting in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house in suburban New Jersey, watching my savings account dwindle with each passing day. Fresh out of college with a degree in graphic design and exactly zero job prospects, I'd done what any self-respecting 23-year-old would do. I moved back home and pretended everything was fine. Spoiler alert, everything was not fine. "Danny, honey, have you thought about applying at Target?" my mom asked through my bedroom door for the 100th time that week. They're hearing, "Sharon's son just got a job there and he loves it." I loved my mom, I really did. But if I had to hear one more story about Sharon's perfect son who had a job and a girlfriend and probably a 401k, I was going to lose it. "I'm good, Mom," I called back, not looking away from my laptop screen. "I've got some leads." By leads, I meant I was scrolling through apartment listings in New York City that I absolutely could not afford. Studio apartments in Manhattan for $3,000 a month. Converted closets in Brooklyn for $1,800. A cozy room in Queens that was literally someone's partitioned living room for $1,200. I was about to close my laptop in defeat when I saw it. Roommate needed in Williamsburg. Large bedroom in 2BR, $850 month. LGBTQ plus friendly, must be clean, employed, or actively job hunting and drama-free. $850 in Williamsburg, that had to be a scam, right? But desperation makes you do stupid things, so I clicked on the ad anyway. The photos showed a surprisingly nice apartment, exposed brick, hardwood floors, big windows that actually let in natural light. The kind of place I'd scrolled past 1,000 times because it was always out of my price range. There was only one photo of the current tenant, a guy around my age, maybe a year or two older, with dark curly hair and a smile that was friendly without being creepy. He was standing in what looked like the living room, wearing a faded band t-shirt and jeans. The photo was casual, not one of those weird, overly staged Craigslist pics that screamed, "I'm definitely going to murder you." His name was Marcus, according to the ad. He was 25, worked as a physical therapist at a clinic in Manhattan, and was looking for someone to take over his roommate's room after said roommate had moved in with his girlfriend. He listed his interests as cooking, running, indie music, and bad reality TV, which honestly sounded like my exact vibe. Before I could overthink it, I sent him an email. "Hi Marcus. I saw your listing for the room in Williamsburg. I'm Danny, 23, recent college grad looking to move to the city. I'm a graphic designer currently job hunting with some promising interviews lined up. I'm clean, quiet, respectful of shared spaces, and I promise I'm not a serial killer. I'm also gay if that matters for the LGBTQ plus friendly thing you mentioned. I'd love to know more about the place and set up a time to see it if it's still available. I can provide references, proof of savings to cover rent while job hunting, etc. Thanks, Danny." I hit send before I could chicken out, then immediately regretted mentioning I was gay. What if that was too much information? What if he thought I was hitting on him? What if? My phone buzzed 30 minutes later. "Hey Danny, room's still available. Love that you mentioned the gay thing up front. I'm bi and my last roommate was straight but super cool about everything. Want to come see the place this Saturday around 2? Address is below. Looking forward to meeting you. Marcus." That Saturday, I took the train into the city with my stomach in knots. I told my parents I was meeting a friend for lunch, which wasn't technically a lie if you counted a potential future roommate as a friend. The train ride from New Jersey to Williamsburg took about an hour, giving me plenty of time to imagine every possible disaster scenario. What if the apartment was actually a dump and the photos were from 10 years ago? What if Marcus was a creep? What if I showed up and he took one look at me and decided I wasn't cool enough to live in Williamsburg? The neighborhood at least lived up to the hype. Trendy coffee shops and vintage clothing stores lined the streets, and the late summer sun made everything look like it had an Instagram filter on it. I found the address, a converted warehouse building with a green door and intercom system, and pressed the button for apartment 4B. "Danny," a voice crackled through the speaker. "Yeah, hi, that's me. Cool, come on up, 4th floor." The buzzer sounded and I pulled open the heavy door. The building's interior was exactly what you'd expect from a converted warehouse, industrial chic with exposed pipes and brick walls, but clean and well-maintained. I climbed the stairs, my heart pounding harder with each floor. By the time I reached the fourth floor, I was slightly out of breath. I made a mental note to start going to the gym if I was going to live in a fourth floor walk-up. The door to 4B was already open, and Marcus was standing in the doorway. The photo hadn't done him justice. He was tall, maybe 6'2" or 6'3", with an athletic build that suggested he actually used the gym membership he presumably had. His dark curly hair was slightly messy in that effortlessly cool way that I could never pull off, and his eyes were this warm brown color that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. And he was smiling at me. "Danny," he asked, extending a hand. "Marcus, good to meet you, man." "Yeah, hi, you too." I shook his hand, trying not to think about how firm his grip was or how his hand completely engulfed mine. "Get it together, Danny. This is a rental viewing, not a date. Come in, let me show you around." He stepped aside and I walked into the apartment. It was even better in person. The living room was spacious and bright, with those big windows I'd seen in the photos overlooking the street below. The exposed brick wall was real, not painted to look industrial. There was a decent-sized kitchen with actual counter space, a comfortable-looking couch facing a mounted TV, and plants, actual living plants that didn't look dead. "So this is the main space," Marcus said, gesturing around. "Kitchen's open concept, which is nice for when people are over. I cook a lot, but I'm good about cleaning up after myself. I'd expect the same from a roommate." "Definitely," I said, following him through the apartment. "I actually like cooking too." "Yeah, that's awesome. My last roommate lived on takeout and microwaved burritos." He led me down a short hallway. "Bathrooms here we'd be sharing, obviously. I'm pretty low maintenance. Shower, brush teeth, out in 10 minutes usually." The bathroom was small but clean, with a surprisingly nice shower and good water pressure, according to Marcus. There was a single toothbrush in a cup by the sink and basic toiletries neatly arranged on a shelf. No weird smells, no mold, no hair clogging the drain, already better than my college apartment. "And here's the room that would be yours." He opened a door at the end of the hall. The bedroom was bigger than I expected, definitely larger than the large room descriptions I'd seen that turned out to be glorified closets. There was a window with good light, overhead lighting, and enough space for a queen bed, a desk, and a dresser with room to spare. "It's furnished right now because Jake, my old roommate, left some stuff, but he's taking it all when he comes back next weekend. You'd need to bring your own furniture, or we can talk about buying some basics together if you need help with that." "It's perfect," I said, and I meant it. "Honestly, this whole place is amazing. I have to ask though, $850 a month in Williamsburg, that seems really good." Marcus laughed. "Yeah, I get that a lot. Honestly, I got super lucky. I've been here for 3 years and my landlord is this old guy who bought the building decades ago and refuses to raise the rent to market rate because he thinks it's unconscionable." He made air quotes. "He's basically a unicorn in the New York real estate world. The catch is he's very particular about who lives here. He has to approve any new tenant, and he's old school, wants people to stay long-term, maintain the place well, that kind of thing." "I can definitely do that," I said quickly. "I'm looking for stability, not just a place to crash for a few months." We walked back to the living room and Marcus gestured to the couch. "Want to sit for a bit? I can answer any questions you have." We sat, and I tried to think of intelligent questions to ask that would make me sound like a responsible adult and not a recent college grad who still didn't know how to properly file taxes. "So, utilities. How does that work?" "Split down the middle, usually comes to about 60 or 70 bucks each per month depending on the season. We have heat included in the rent, which is amazing. Internet. Also split 50 bucks each. We have good Wi-Fi. I work from home sometimes, so I made sure to get a solid plan." I nodded, mentally calculating, even with utilities and internet, I'd be paying less than $1,000 a month. In Williamsburg, this was actually doable. "Can I ask about the job hunting thing?" Marcus asked, his tone friendly but serious. "Not trying to pry, but I do need to make sure you can cover rent. Jake left kind of suddenly and I can't really afford to cover both rents if something falls through." "Totally fair," I said. "I graduated in May with a degree in graphic design. I've been applying to jobs and have had a few interviews. I also do freelance work on the side, nothing huge yet but enough to cover expenses. And I have savings that would cover about 6 months of rent and living expenses if I really needed it." I pulled out my phone and showed him my bank statement, feeling only slightly embarrassed about the fact that I was essentially proving I wasn't broke to a stranger. Marcus looked it over and nodded. That works for me, and honestly, you seem cool. I have a good feeling about this. Yeah, I tried not to sound too eager. Yeah, I mean, I'm still showing the place to a couple other people, fair's fair, but between you and me, I'd rather live with someone I actually vibe with than just whoever can pay rent. And you seem like someone I'd actually want to grab a beer with, you know. I felt a warmth spread through my chest that had nothing to do with the late summer heat. I appreciate that. I feel the same way. We talked for another hour. I learned that Marcus had gone to school for exercise science, discovered he loved working with people during recovery, and got his DPT license. He'd grown up in Connecticut, had two younger sisters he was clearly close with, and had been in New York for 4 years. He loved the city but sometimes missed the quiet of the suburbs, which I could relate to. He asked about me, and I told him about growing up in New Jersey, my love-hate relationship with graphic design, loved the creativity, hated the corporate bullshit, and my complete inability to make decisions about my future without spiraling into an existential crisis. Dude, I get that, Marcus said, laughing. I spent my entire senior year of college convinced I was going to end up living in my parents' basement forever. And now look at me living in New York doing a job I actually like, not totally broke. It works out. By the time I left, I felt like I'd made a friend, not just met a potential landlord. Marcus walked me to the door and we shook hands again. I'll let you know by Tuesday, he said, but like I said, I have a good feeling. Thanks, Marcus, seriously, this place is great. I floated down the 4 flights of stairs and out onto the Williamsburg Street, already imagining myself living there, walking to the subway stop on Saturday mornings for coffee, coming home from my future job in Manhattan, actually living in New York City instead of commuting from my childhood bedroom. The train ride back to New Jersey felt longer than usual, probably because I was obsessively checking my phone every 5 minutes. I knew Marcus said he'd let me know by Tuesday, but what if he texted me sooner? What if one of the other people who saw the apartment was better than me? What if? My phone buzzed Monday morning at 10:47 a.m. Hey Danny, it's Marcus. So I saw the other people who wanted to look at the room, and I'm gonna be real with you, none of them were as cool as you. Room's yours if you want it. Let me know and we can figure out the move-in details. I actually screamed. My mom came running into my room thinking something was wrong and found me jumping on my bed like a teenager who'd just been asked to prom. I got it, I yelled, I got the apartment. My mom looked relieved and worried in equal measure. That's wonderful, honey, but are you sure about this? Moving to New York is a big step and you don't even have a job yet. The excitement dimmed slightly. She was right, of course. Moving to the city without employment was risky. But staying in my childhood bedroom, applying to jobs from New Jersey, watching my college friends move on with their lives while I stagnated, that felt riskier somehow. I'm sure, Mom, I said, quieter now but no less certain. This is what I need to do. She sighed, then pulled me into a hug. Okay, but promise me you'll be careful and call me every day and don't eat too much takeout, you need vegetables. I promise, I said, hugging her back. I texted Marcus back immediately, yes, absolutely yes, when can I move in? His response came 30 seconds later, how's 2 weeks from Saturday, that'll give Jake time to get his stuff and you time to pack. Sound good? Perfect. And just like that, my life in New York City was about to begin. 2 weeks later, I stood in the middle of my new bedroom surrounded by boxes, sweating through my t-shirt and questioning every life decision that had led me to this moment. You good, man? Marcus appeared in the doorway, looking annoyingly put together despite the fact that he just helped me carry a mattress up 4 flights of stairs. Need some water. I need a time machine so I can go back and tell my past self to hire actual movers, I groaned, collapsing onto said mattress. Marcus laughed, it's not that bad, we got all the big stuff up in one trip, the rest is just boxes. Just boxes, I repeated. There are 17 boxes, Marcus, 17, how did I accumulate this much stuff in 23 years? Could be worse, Jake had 32 boxes, I counted. He tossed me a water bottle from the case we'd bought at the bodega downstairs. Take 5, then we'll knock out the rest. My dad had driven me into the city that morning with my stuff crammed into a U-Haul trailer. He'd helped us get everything up to the apartment, made awkward small talk with Marcus about the Mets, and then given me a hug that lasted a beat too long. "You call your mother," he'd said gruffly. "Every day she's going to worry." "I will, Dad. And if you need money, I'll be fine." He'd looked at me for a long moment, his eyes a little watery. "I know you will. I'm proud of you, Danny, you know that, right?" I'd nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Now, watching Marcus lean against the doorframe of my new bedroom in my new apartment in New York City, I felt a surge of something: excitement, terror, hope, all mixed together. "Hey," Marcus said, "welcome home, roommate." I grinned. "Thanks, now help me unpack before I drown in cardboard." We spent the rest of the afternoon setting up my room. Marcus turned out to be surprisingly helpful with furniture arrangement, suggesting I put my desk by the window for natural light and helping me assemble the IKEA bed frame I'd ordered online. "You're surprisingly good at this," I said, watching him expertly tighten a bolt without even looking at the instructions. "Physical therapist, remember? I'm basically a professional body mechanic. Furniture assembly is just body mechanics without the body." He gestured to the partially assembled bed frame. "Plus, I've built like 6 of these things. IKEA furniture is a rite of passage in New York." By 7 p.m., my room was functional, not decorated or organized, but functional. The bed was assembled, my clothes were in the closet, well, most of them, and my laptop was set up on the desk. The boxes were unpacked, though their contents were strewn about in a way that would probably stress me out later. Marcus surveyed the room and nodded approvingly. "Not bad for day one. You hungry?" I was thinking of ordering Thai food. "Starving, actually." We ordered enough Thai food to feed a small army: pad see ew, drunken noodles, green curry, spring rolls, and mango sticky rice, and spread it out on the coffee table in the living room. Marcus pulled out 2 beers from the fridge and handed me one. "To new roommates," he said, clinking his bottle against mine. "To new roommates." We ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes before Marcus spoke up. "So, real talk, we should probably establish some ground rules, not like formal roommate agreement stuff, but just things to make sure we don't accidentally hate each other." "Makes sense," I said around a mouthful of noodles. "What did you and Jake do?" "We were pretty chill about most things. The basics are obvious: clean up after yourself, don't be loud late at night, respect each other's space. But we also did a couple things that worked really well. Like, we had a shared grocery list for basics: milk, eggs, bread, paper towels, that kind of thing. We'd split the cost and both contribute. Made it easier than trying to divide everything perfectly." "I like that." "And we had a rule about overnight guests. Just give the other person a heads up if someone's staying over. Not asking for permission, just a courtesy thing so nobody walks out in their underwear and gets surprised." I felt my face heat up slightly. "Yeah, that's smart." Marcus grinned. "I'm guessing you don't have someone who'll be staying over regularly." "No," I said quickly. "Very single, extremely single, professionally single." "Same, actually. I broke up with my ex about 6 months ago and I've been kind of enjoying the single life. Less drama, you know." "What happened, if you don't mind me asking?" Marcus shrugged. "We wanted different things. He wanted to move to LA, I wanted to stay in New York. We tried to make it work long distance for a month, but it just didn't. We're still friends though, which is nice." "That's mature of you." "Yeah, well, I'm a mature adult," he paused, "who still watches trashy reality TV and eats cereal for dinner sometimes." I laughed. "As long as you share the TV, I think we'll be fine." We established a few more guidelines: quiet hours after 11 on weeknights, rotate who buys toilet paper, check before using each other's food unless it's from the shared list, and always lock the door even if you're just running downstairs for a minute. "Oh, and one more thing," Marcus said. "I go running most mornings around 6. I'll try to be quiet, but I'm definitely going to be up early. That cool?" "I'm a heavy sleeper. You could have a full marching band in here and I probably wouldn't wake up." "Good to know. What about you? Any weird habits I should know about?" I thought about it. I'm a night owl. I do my best work late at night, so I'll probably be up until 1 or 2 most nights, but I'll keep it quiet. Works for me. I'm usually dead to the world by 10:30. We finished the food and cleaned up together, falling into an easy rhythm of wash, dry, put away. It felt natural, comfortable, like we'd been doing this for months instead of hours. I'm gonna crash, Marcus said, stifling a yawn. You good, need anything? I'm good, thanks for all the help today, seriously. Anytime, man, sleep well. He disappeared down the hall to his room, and I heard his door click shut a moment later. I stood in the living room of my new apartment, looking around at the exposed brick and the big windows and the couch that I now had equal claim to, and felt something settle in my chest. This was real, I was actually doing this. I pulled out my phone and texted my mom, moved in, apartment is great, Marcus is cool, I'm okay, love you. Her response came immediately, so proud of you, sweetie, call me tomorrow, love you too. I brushed my teeth in the shared bathroom, changed into pajamas in my new bedroom, and climbed into my newly assembled IKEA bed. Through the window, I could hear the sounds of Williamsburg at night, distant sirens, people laughing on the street below, the rumble of the subway. I fell asleep smiling. The first week living with Marcus was an adjustment, but not in the ways I expected. I'd worried we'd have different cleanliness standards. We didn't. We were both somewhere between reasonably tidy and borderline neurotic. I'd worried we'd have conflicting schedules. We didn't. His early mornings and my late nights meant we actually saw each other plenty but never felt cramped. I'd worried we'd run out of things to talk about. We absolutely didn't. What I hadn't worried about, because I'm apparently an idiot, was how distractingly attractive I would find my roommate. It wasn't like I developed some instant crush on him. I'm not that much of a cliché, but living with someone is intimate in ways that viewing an apartment for an hour can't prepare you for. You see them in their natural habitat. You learn their routines, their quirks, their habits. With Marcus, this meant I learned that. He sang in the shower, badly, like hilariously badly, usually top 40 hits from the early 2000s. He was absolutely meticulous about meal prep on Sundays, cooking enough chicken, rice, and vegetables to last him through the work week. He wore reading glasses when he worked on his laptop at night, which gave him an unfairly hot professor vibe. He had a truly impressive collection of graphic t-shirts featuring obscure bands and terrible puns. He was physically incapable of sitting on the couch like a normal person, and instead always had his long legs sprawled out or tucked under him in various pretzel configurations. That last one was particularly problematic because it meant I spent a lot of time trying not to stare at his legs, or his arms, or his hands. Jesus Christ, I was screwed. Earth to Danny, Marcus said, waving a hand in front of my face. You alive in there? I blinked, refocusing on the present moment. We were sitting on the couch, him sprawled out per usual, me tucked into the corner, watching some cooking competition show that Marcus had gotten me hooked on. Sorry, spaced out, what were you saying? I asked if you wanted to order pizza for dinner, or if you wanted to actually cook something. Pizza, I said immediately. I'm tired and I've already subjected you to my cooking twice this week. You deserve a break. Marcus laughed. Your cooking's not that bad. Those quesadillas you made on Tuesday were solid. Quesadillas are literally just cheese in a tortilla. That's not cooking, that's assembly. Hey, there's an art to a good quesadilla. You added peppers and onions, that's fancy. I rolled my eyes but couldn't help smiling. This was what living with Marcus was like: easy teasing, comfortable silences, genuine enjoyment of each other's company. It was the kind of friendship I'd hoped for but hadn't expected to develop so quickly. The problem was that my feelings were starting to creep beyond friendship. It had started innocuously enough. Day 3, I'd walked into the kitchen to find Marcus post-run, sweaty and breathing hard, drinking water straight from a bottle. He'd been wearing short running shorts and a tank top, and I'd had to physically turn around and pretend I needed something from my room to avoid starring. Day 5, we'd watched a movie together, and he'd fallen asleep on the couch during the second half, his head tilted back and his mouth slightly open. I'd grabbed a blanket and draped it over him, and he'd unconsciously grabbed my wrist and mumbled thanks without waking up. I'd stood there for a solid 30 seconds like an idiot, feeling the warmth of his hand on my wrist before carefully extracting myself and fleeing to my room. Day 7, I'd come home from a job interview that had gone terribly, but that's another story, to find Marcus cooking dinner. Figured you might need comfort food, he'd said, gesturing to the stir-fry he was making. How'd it go? I'd nearly burst into tears at the simple kindness of it. Now, day 9, I was sitting next to him on the couch, hyper-aware of the 18 inches of space between us, trying to focus on the TV and not on the way his t-shirt rode up slightly when he stretched. This was fine, totally fine. I could absolutely live with someone I found attractive and not make it weird. People did it all the time. This was normal. My phone buzzed with a text from my college friend Jen. "How's the new place? Your roommate a serial killer yet?" I typed back, "Place is great, roommate is nice, still alive." "Nice, that's it, you've been there over a week and all I get is nice." "He's cool, we get along well." Photo. I glanced at Marcus, who was fully absorbed in the TV. "What? No, why?" "Because you're being weird about it and now I'm suspicious." "Is he hot? Is that why you're being weird?" "I'm not being weird." "You're totally being weird. OMG, he's hot, isn't he?" "Danny Reyes, you better not be developing feelings for your straight roommate." "He's bi actually, and I'm not developing feelings." "Bi, and you're living with him?" "Danny, you're going to fall in love with him in like 3 weeks max." That's ridiculous, we're just friends." Famous last words, I'm calling it now. By October you're going to be pinning. I shoved my phone between the couch cushions and tried to focus on the show. Jen was being ridiculous. Yes, Marcus was attractive. Yes, we got along well, but that didn't mean I was going to develop some pathetic unrequited crush on my roommate. I was an adult. I could be mature about this. "You good?" Marcus asked, glancing over at me. "You're being quiet." "Yeah, just tired, long day." "How'd the interview go?" I forgot to ask. "The interview, right, the one I'd bombed spectacularly." "Not great," I admitted. "They wanted someone with more experience, which I get, but also, how am I supposed to get experience if no one will hire me without experience? It's a stupid cycle." Yeah. Marcus nodded sympathetically. "Job hunting sucks. Took me 4 months to find my position after I got licensed. I applied to like 60 places." 60. Yep, got rejected from most of them, ghosted by about 20, and had 3 interviews before I finally got hired. It's brutal out there. Somehow, knowing that Marcus, who seemed to have his shit together so completely, had struggled too made me feel better. "Thanks," I said, "for the perspective, and for dinner the other night. That was really nice of you." He shrugged. "We're roommates, we look out for each other. Plus, you made me coffee this morning without me asking, so we're even." Had I done that, I'd made coffee and poured him a cup, but I hadn't really thought about it. It had just felt natural. "Speaking of looking out for each other," Marcus said, "my sister's visiting next weekend. She's in town for a conference and wants to crash here Friday night. That cool with you?" "Of course, it's your place." "It's our place," he corrected. "But yeah, she's cool, you'll like her. She's a disaster in the best way possible." "Older or younger?" "Younger. She's 22, finishing up her last year at NYU, studying environmental science, wants to save the world, lectures me about my plastic water bottle usage." Classic younger sibling stuff. The way he talked about his sister with obvious affection and pride made me like him even more, which was not helpful for my whole not developing feelings situation. We ordered pizza and spent the rest of the evening watching bad TV. Around 10:30, Marcus yawned and stretched, his shirt riding up again. I did not look at the sliver of exposed stomach, I absolutely did not, and announced he was heading to bed. "Don't stay up too late," he said, ruffling my hair as he walked past the couch. I sat frozen, my scalp tingling where he'd touched me, trying to remember how to breathe normally. This was fine. Everything was fine. I was absolutely not developing feelings for my roommate. Marcus's sister arrived Friday evening in a whirlwind of chaos and luggage. "Marcus," she shrieked, bursting through the apartment door and launching herself at him. "I missed your stupid face." "Missed you too, Marcus laughed, catching her in a hug and spinning her around. "You're late," I said 7. "I'm fashionably late, there's a difference." She disentangled herself from the hug and looked around the apartment. "Okay, this is way nicer than I expected. When you said Williamsburg, I thought it would be all hipster and pretentious." "It is all hipster and pretentious, we just happen to have a nice apartment in it." Emily rolled her eyes and then spotted me hovering awkwardly by the kitchen. "Oh, you must be Danny," Marcus has told me absolutely nothing about you, which means you're either super boring or super interesting and he wants to keep you to himself. I laughed despite my nervousness, hopefully more interesting than boring. We'll see, she stuck out her hand. Emily, 22, tired, hungry, and in desperate need of a drink. You have alcohol in this place. You can't just, Marcus started. Relax, it's legal now. I turned 21 6 months ago, remember? She turned back to me. He still treats me like I'm 12, it's very annoying. I liked her immediately. We ordered Thai food again, it was becoming our go-to, and settled in the living room. Emily regaled us with stories from her conference, which had apparently been boring as hell but with an open bar, so worth it. She was funny and sharp and gave Marcus shit in the way only siblings can, and watching them interact made me miss my own family. So Danny, Emily said, pointing a spring roll at me. What's your deal? Marcus said you just moved in. Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. I'm from Jersey originally, just graduated college in May. And you're what interning working? Job hunting actually, graphic design. Oof, tough field, my roommate's an art major and she's having the worst time finding anything. Have you tried the freelance route? A little, I've done a few small projects but nothing consistent. Emily nodded thoughtfully. You should talk to my friend Zara, she does freelance illustration and always needs designers for client projects. I could connect you if you want. Really, that would be amazing. Consider it done, I'll text her tomorrow. She turned to Marcus. See, I'm helpful, you should let me visit more often. You're welcome anytime, you know that. They started bickering about something involving their parents and a family dinner Emily had missed, and I excused myself to grab another beer from the fridge. When I came back, Emily had somehow convinced Marcus to let her pick the movie, and she'd chosen some horror film that she promised was more funny than scary. It was neither funny nor not scary. Nope, 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 I said, covering my eyes during a particularly gruesome scene. I hate this. It's not even that bad, Emily protested. The guy's intestines are literally falling out. That's bad, Emily. Marcus, who had been silently watching the movie with his usual stoic expression, suddenly said, Danny's right, this is gross. Thank you, I gestured at the TV. See, even Marcus thinks it's too much. Fine, we can watch something else. Emily grabbed the remote and switched to some rom-com. You two are such bobbies. We ended up watching 2 romantic comedies back-to-back, with Emily providing running commentary on everything from the unrealistic apartment sizes to the problematic power dynamics. By the time the second movie ended, it was past midnight. I should probably sleep, Emily said, yawning. That conference wiped me out. You're taking Danny's room, Marcus said. Danny, you can crash on the couch or... Actually, Emily interrupted, I was going to ask if I could take the couch. I'm a weird sleeper and I like being able to get up and move around without bothering anyone. Plus, Danny's room probably has all his stuff and I don't want to invade his space. You sure? I asked. Positive, I've slept on way worse couches, trust me. We set her up with sheets and a pillow and she made a nest for herself on the couch that looked surprisingly comfortable. Marcus and I said goodnight and headed down the hall to our respective rooms. Sorry about the room shuffle, Marcus said, pausing at his door. I should have planned this better. It's fine, your sister's cool. He smiled. Yeah, she is. Thanks for being so chill about everything. Of course. We stood there for a moment and I became acutely aware of how close we were in the narrow hallway. Close enough that I could smell his deodorant, something cedar and clean. Close enough to see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. Well, I said, taking a step back, good night. Night, Danny. I escaped to my room and closed the door, leaning against it and willing my heart to slow down. This was getting ridiculous. I needed to get a grip. I pulled out my phone and texted Jen, your prediction might be coming true. Her response was immediate. I knew it. Details now. Nothing's happened, I think I might like him. Oh, Danny, sweetie, you're going to need a game plan. A game plan for what? Nothing's going to happen. He's my roommate. That would be a disaster. Or it would be amazing, and you'd live happily ever after. You watch too many rom-coms. And you don't watch enough. Look, just feel it out. See if he shows any signs of interest. You never know. I wanted to believe her, but the rational part of my brain knew better. Marcus was friendly and kind to everyone. The hair ruffle earlier, the comfortable closeness, the easy affection, that was just who he was. It didn't mean anything. I needed to get over this before it became a problem. Emily made good on her promise and connected me with her friend Zara the next day. By Monday, I had my first freelance client, a small eco-friendly cosmetics company that needed a logo redesign and packaging concepts. It wasn't a huge project, but it was something. More importantly, it was mine. I spent the next week throwing myself into the work, staying up late sketching concepts and refining designs. Marcus would come out some nights to find me still at my laptop at 2 in the morning, surrounded by coffee cups and crumpled papers. "You're going to burn yourself out," he said one night, appearing in the living room in pajama pants and a worn t-shirt. I looked up from my screen, blinking away the eye strain. "I'm fine, just want to get this right." "How long have you been working?" I glanced at the clock. "Since 7. "Danny, it's 2:30 in the morning, that's 7.5 hours straight." "Is it?" I rubbed my eyes, I kind of lost track. Marcus walked over and gently closed my laptop. "Come on, time for bed." "Yeah. But I'm not done." "You're not going to do good work when you're exhausted. Trust me, I see patients who have injured themselves because they pushed too hard. You need rest." I wanted to argue, but he was right. My eyes were burning, my back ached from hunching over the laptop, and my brain felt like mush. "Fine," I conceded, "but I'm starting again at 8 tomorrow." "That's still only 5.5 hours of sleep." "I'll be fine." Marcus gave me a look that clearly said he didn't believe me, but he didn't push it. "At least drink some water before bed, you're probably dehydrated." He filled a glass from the kitchen and handed it to me, watching until I drank the whole thing like I was a child who couldn't be trusted to take care of myself. "Thank you, Mom," I said sarcastically. "Hey, someone has to make sure you don't kill yourself over a logo design." "It's not just a logo, it's my first real freelance project. If I do well," Zara said she'd recommend me to other clients. "This could be the start of something." Marcus's expression softened. "I know, and I'm really proud of you for going after it. Just pace yourself, okay? You're allowed to take breaks." The genuine concern in his voice made my chest tight. "Okay, I'll try." "Good." He ruffled my hair, that gesture again that made my brain short-circuit, and headed back to his room. "Now go to bed, for real this time." I did, but I lay awake for another hour thinking about the way he'd looked at me with such open worry, like my well-being actually mattered to him. Which it probably did, because we were friends. Friends cared about each other. This was normal. I repeated that to myself until I finally fell asleep. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of designing, revising, and second-guessing myself. Marcus continued his campaign to make sure I ate and slept like a functional human being, which mostly involved him cooking dinner and pointedly setting a plate in front of me until I stopped working. "You know you don't have to do this," I said one evening, looking at the perfectly portioned chicken and vegetables he'd placed on the coffee table. "Do what?" "Take care of me. I'm a grown adult. I can feed myself." Marcus sat down next to me with his own plate. "I know you can, but you won't unless someone makes you stop working, and I'm already cooking for myself, so it's not a big deal to make extra." "Still, thank you." "You're welcome." He stabbed a piece of broccoli with his fork. "How's the project going?" "Good, I think. I sent over the final concepts yesterday, waiting to hear back." "I'm sure they'll love it." "How can you be sure? You haven't even seen it." "Because you're talented and you've been working your ass off. That combination usually leads to good results." The casual confidence he had in me made me want to cry and also maybe kiss him, which was a confusing combination of emotions. "I hope you're right," I said quietly. My phone buzzed the next morning with an email from Zara's client. I was still in bed, having actually taken Marcus's advice and gotten a full 8 hours of sleep, and I nearly dropped my phone when I saw the subject line, "Love the designs." They wanted to move forward with my favorite concept. They wanted to hire me for the full brand package, not just the logo but business cards, website design, social media templates, everything. And they were offering to pay me $3,000. $3,000. I screamed. Marcus came running down the hall, bursting into my room without knocking. What's wrong? Are you okay? They loved it, I yelled, waving my phone at him. They want to hire me for the whole brand package. Marcus, they're paying me $3,000. His face split into a huge grin. Danny, that's amazing, congratulations. Before I could think better of it, I jumped out of bed and hugged him. He caught me easily, laughing and hugging me back, and for a moment we just stood there in my bedroom holding each other. Then I realized I was in my pajamas, which consisted of an old t-shirt and boxer shorts, and I was hugging my extremely attractive roommate who was also in his running clothes because he'd clearly just gotten back from his morning run, which meant he was slightly sweaty and breathing hard and I pulled back abruptly. Sorry, I'm just excited. Don't apologize, this is huge. He squeezed my shoulder. We should celebrate. Want to get dinner tonight, my treat. You don't have to. I want to. This is a big deal, Danny. Let me take you out to celebrate. Take me out. Those 3 words echoed in my head on repeat for the rest of the day. It's not a date, I told myself firmly. It's a congratulatory dinner between roommates, friends, completely platonic. But I still changed my outfit 3 times before we left. Marcus took me to a nice Italian place in the East Village, the kind with checkered tablecloths and candles and waiters who called you amico. This is too much, I said as we sat down. I was thinking like pizza or something. Pizzas for normal nights, this is a celebration. He opened his menu. Order whatever you want, I'm serious. We ordered wine, which felt very adult and sophisticated, and I got the carbonara while Marcus got some kind of seafood pasta. The food was incredible, the wine was making me pleasantly warm, and Marcus was being, well, Marcus, funny and easy to talk to and genuinely interested in everything I had to say about the project. So what's next? He asked, twirling pasta on his fork. More freelance work. Hopefully, Zara said she'd send more clients my way if they were a good fit, and I'm still applying to full-time positions, but honestly, the freelance thing is kind of nice. I like being my own boss. That's great, really great, he paused. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why graphic design, like what made you choose it? I took a sip of wine, considering. Honestly, I liked making things look nice. That sounds shallow, but it's true. I liked that I could take something ugly or confusing and make it clear and beautiful. There's something satisfying about that, about creating order out of chaos, you know. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. That makes sense. It's like physical therapy in a way. I take bodies that aren't working right and help them function better. Different medium, same basic idea. I never thought about it like that, but yeah, exactly. We talked for hours, about work, about our families, about stupid things we'd done in college. Marcus told me about the time he'd accidentally locked himself out of his dorm room naked after a drunken dare. I told him about the time I'd fallen asleep in the library and woken up at 3 a.m. to find the building locked. How did you get out? Marcus asked, laughing. I called campus security and had to explain that yes, I had in fact been there the entire time, and no, I wasn't trying to rob the place. It was humiliating. That's amazing, he wiped his eyes. God, we were all such idiots in college. Were. Fair point. The waiter brought the check, and Marcus grabbed it before I could even reach for my wallet. I'm paying, he said firmly. This is my treat, remember. At least let me leave the tip. Nope. Marcus. Danny, let me do this, please. The way he said it, almost vulnerable, like it really mattered to him, made me stop arguing. Okay, thank you for all of this. You're welcome. We walked home through the warm September night, taking the long way because neither of us seemed ready for the evening to end. The streets were still busy with people spilling out of bars and restaurants, and the air smelled like coffee and exhaust and possibility. I'm really glad you moved in, Marcus said suddenly. I looked over at him surprised. Yeah, Jake was fine, but we never really connected, you know. It was more like we were just 2 people sharing a space. But with you, I don't know, it feels different, better. My heart was doing gymnastics in my chest. I feel the same way. I was nervous about living with a stranger, but you've made it really easy. Good, he smiled at me, and in the glow of the streetlights he looked unfairly handsome. I'm glad we're friends. Friends, right, that's what we were. Me too, I said, ignoring the slight ache in my chest. We got back to the apartment and I went to bed almost immediately, claiming exhaustion from the wine. But I lay awake for hours, replaying the evening in my head and trying not to read too much into every small moment. The way Marcus had laughed at my stories, the way he'd paid for dinner without making it feel like a big deal, the way he'd said it felt different with me. Friends, I reminded myself, he said friends. I needed to get over this crush before it ruined what was quickly becoming one of the best friendships I'd ever had. October arrived with crisp air and changing leaves and I settled into a rhythm. Freelance work picked up, Zara sent me 2 more clients and I was actually making decent money. Not enough to live on permanently but enough to cover rent and expenses while I continued job hunting. Marcus and I fell into an easy routine. We'd have coffee together most mornings, well, he'd make it and I'd stumble out of bed to drink it. We'd have dinner together a few nights a week. We'd watch TV or just talk, and it all felt so natural and comfortable that I sometimes forgot we'd only known each other for 2 months. The crush hadn't gone away, but I'd gotten better at managing it. I could be in the same room with him without making it weird. I could hear him sing in the shower without melting. I could watch him do his meal prep on Sundays in those stupid tank tops without starring. Mostly. Then Marcus got hurt. I came home from a coffee shop where I'd been working one afternoon to find him sitting on the couch with an ice pack on his knee, his face tight with pain. What happened? I dropped my bag and rushed over. I'm fine, just tweaked my knee during a run this morning. That doesn't look fine, have you seen a doctor? I am a doctor, well, basically, I know what I'm doing. I gave him my best skeptical look. Aren't medical professionals notoriously bad at taking care of themselves? That's a stereotype. Is it though? He sighed, fine, it's a little worse than I thought, I probably pulled something, I've been icing it all day but it's still swollen. Can you walk on it? Not really, I called out of work tomorrow to rest it. I sat down next to him, careful not to jostle his leg. What can I do? Nothing, I'm just going to elevate it and ice it and pray it's better in a few days. Have you eaten? He looked sheepish, not since breakfast. Marcus at 6 p.m. I know, I just didn't want to get up and put weight on it. I stood up, okay, I'm cooking dinner, don't argue. Danny. Nope, you're always taking care of me, my turn. I made pasta, nothing fancy, just spaghetti with jarred sauce and some garlic bread, but Marcus acted like I'd prepared a 5-course meal. This is really good, he said, eating from the couch where I'd insisted he stay put. It's pasta, it's hard to screw up pasta. You'd be surprised. We ate in comfortable silence for a bit before Marcus spoke again. Thanks for this, for taking care of me. Of course, that's what friends do. That word again, friends, it shouldn't have stung, but it did. Over the next few days, I took over Marcus's usual role. I made sure he stayed off his knee, I cooked meals, I even helped him to the bathroom when he was too stubborn to use the crutches his friend had dropped off. This is humiliating, he muttered as I supported his weight, his arm around my shoulders. It's really not, you do the same for me. Yeah, but I'm supposed to be the one who takes care of people. I'm a physical therapist, this is literally my job. Even physical therapists get hurt sometimes, let someone take care of you for once. He looked at me for a long moment, something unreadable in his expression. You're really good at this. At what? Taking care of people, you should consider becoming a nurse or something. I laughed, I think I'll stick with graphic design, but thank you. By day 3, Marcus was getting restless. He tried to go back to work and had made it approximately 20 minutes before his knee gave out and he had to Uber home. Now he was stuck on the couch, frustrated and bored. This sucks, he announced to the room at large. I know, I was working on my laptop at the kitchen table but looked up at his dramatic sigh. Want to watch something? We've watched everything. That's not true, we haven't watched everything. Feels like it. He was being whiny in a way that would have been annoying if it weren't so endearing. Marcus was usually so put together, so capable, seeing him vulnerable like this was oddly intimate. What if I read to you, I suggested. He perked up slightly, read to me. Yeah, I'm between projects right now anyway, we could start a book together. What kind of book? Whatever you want, you pick. Marcus directed me to his bookshelf in his room, the first time I'd been in there since the apartment tour. His room was neat and organized, with photos of his family on the dresser and a surprising number of books stacked on shelves and his nightstand. "The one with the blue cover," he called from the living room, "third shelf." I found it some thriller about a detective hunting a serial killer. Not my usual genre, but I'd read just about anything at this point. I settled back on the couch, positioning myself so I could see the book and keep an eye on Marcus. He shifted to get comfortable, wincing slightly as he adjusted his knee and then looked at me expectantly. "Ready?" I asked. "Ready." I started reading. Marcus closed his eyes and listened, occasionally interjecting with comments or predictions about the plot. His voice was relaxed in a way I hadn't heard since the injury, and I felt absurdly pleased that I could give him this small comfort. We made it through 3 chapters before Marcus's breathing evened out, and I realized he'd fallen asleep. I should have stopped reading and gone back to work. Instead, I sat there for another 10 minutes just watching him sleep. His face was peaceful, his usually controlled expression completely relaxed. There was a small scar above his left eyebrow that I'd never noticed before. His hair was falling across his forehead in a way that made me want to reach out and brush it back. I was so screwed. Marcus's knee healed slowly over the next 2 weeks. Physical therapist or not, he made for a terrible patient, constantly pushing himself too hard and then having to ice it all over again. "You need to rest it," I said for the 1,000th time, finding him attempting to do dishes one-legged. "I can't just sit on the couch forever, I'm going insane." "You're going to make it worse if you don't let it heal properly." "Stop being so reasonable, I hate it." Despite his protests, he let me continue taking care of him. We fell into a new routine. I'd work during the day, we'd have dinner together, and then I'd read to him until he fell asleep on the couch. Sometimes he'd wake up and make his way to his room. Other times, I'd grab a blanket and drape it over him, trying not to think too hard about how domestic it all felt. Jen called one evening while I was cooking dinner. "How's the roommate situation?" she asked immediately. "Fine, good. Marcus hurt his knee, so I've been helping out." "Oh no, is he okay?" "He will be, he's just being stubborn about resting." "And how are you doing with the whole feelings situation?" I glanced toward the living room where Marcus was watching TV. "Can we not talk about this right now?" "So it's gotten worse, got it." "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to, I can hear it in your voice. Danny, you sound like a worried spouse." "I'm just being a good friend." "Uh-huh, and have you considered that maybe he might feel the same way?" "He doesn't." "How do you know?" "Because he's never given any indication that he sees me as anything other than a friend. And before you say anything, being nice and caring about me doesn't count. That's just who he is." Jen sighed. "You're impossible. Has anyone ever told you that?" "Frequently." After we hung up, I brought Marcus his dinner and settled on the other end of the couch with my own plate. "Was that Jen?" he asked. "Yeah, she says hi." "Tell her I said hi back." He took a bite of the stir-fry I'd made. "She seems cool. Have you guys been friends long?" "Since sophomore year of college. She kind of adopted me during a group project and we've been close ever since." "That's nice. It's good to have people like that." He paused. "Can I ask you something personal?" My heart rate picked up. "Sure." "You don't really talk about dating or relationships. Is that just not something you're interested in right now?" Of all the questions I'd expected, that wasn't one of them. I don't know. I guess I've been focused on other things, getting settled in the city, finding work, all that." "That makes sense." He was quiet for a moment. "I've been thinking about getting back out there, dating again. I mean, it's been 6 months since my ex and I broke up and I think I'm ready." Something cold settled in my stomach. "That's good, you should." "Yeah, I don't know. Dating apps are exhausting and I never meet anyone organically anymore. Everyone I know is either coupled up or not interested in dating." "I'm sure you'll find someone," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "You're a catch." He laughed. "A catch? What are we, 50? You know what I mean. You're attractive, successful, kind, you can cook, you're basically the full package. You forgot stubborn and bad at resting injuries. Those are just bonus features." We finished dinner and I cleaned up while Marcus flipped through channels. When I came back to the couch, he had that detective show queued up, the one I'd been reading to him. "Want to watch instead of read tonight?" he asked. "Sure." We settled in, and about 20 minutes into the episode, Marcus shifted and accidentally knocked his knee against mine. He jerked back immediately. "Sorry, did I hurt you?" "No, you're fine." But I wasn't fine, because now I was hyper-aware of how close we were sitting, of the 18 inches of space between us that felt like both too much and not enough. The episode ended and another one started. Marcus had pulled a blanket over himself, and at some point his head had started to droop. "You should go to bed," I said softly. "In a minute." 5 minutes later he was asleep, his head tilted at an uncomfortable angle. I should have woken him up. Instead, I carefully shifted so his head could rest on my shoulder, and I tried to pretend that the weight of him against me, warm and trusting, didn't make me want things I couldn't have. Marcus was finally cleared to go back to work full-time in late October. His knee was healed, he'd regained his full range of motion, and he was back to his annoyingly chipper morning runs. Things went back to normal, mostly. Except now we were more comfortable with each other. Marcus would sprawl across the couch with his feet in my lap while we watched TV. I'd steal food off his plate without asking. We'd developed our own language of inside jokes and references that made no sense to anyone else. To an outside observer, we probably looked like a couple, which made my actual feelings for him even more painful. It was a Thursday night in early November when everything changed. I was in my room working on a logo design when Marcus knocked on my door. "Hey, you busy?" he asked, poking his head in. "Not really, what's up?" He came in and sat on my bed, looking uncharacteristically nervous. "This is going to sound weird." "Okay." "So I matched with this girl on a dating app, and we've been talking for a few days, and she asked me something that I need help with." My stomach dropped. "What kind of help?" she asked. He ran a hand through his hair. "God, this is so stupid." She asked about my size. I blinked. "Your size?" "Yeah, like dick size. Apparently it's a thing now. People ask before they even meet up." "I have no idea. I don't really use dating apps." "Right, well anyway, I told her I was above average because I am, I think, but then she asked me specifically how big, and I realized I have no idea. I've never measured." Okay, I still wasn't sure where this was going. "So I tried to measure myself just now, and I couldn't get an accurate measurement because of the angle, and I couldn't see the ruler properly, and..." He looked at me hopefully. "Would you help me?" My brain short-circuited. "You want me to measure your dick?" "I know it's weird, but you're the only person I trust enough to ask, and I don't want to lie to her about it. What if we meet up and she's disappointed because I exaggerated?" "Marcus, please, I'll owe you big time. I'll do your laundry for a month. I'll cook all your meals, whatever you want." This was a terrible idea, the worst idea, an absolutely horrible, no good, very bad idea. "Okay," I heard myself say. "Really, thank you." He jumped up. "I have a tape measure in my room, give me 2 minutes." He left, and I sat there trying to process what I'd just agreed to. I was going to measure Marcus's dick. My roommate, my straight, well-bi roommate who I was definitely not attracted to and definitely didn't have feelings for. This was fine, this was totally normal. People helped their roommates with stuff like this all the time, probably. Marcus came back with a fabric tape measure and an expression that was equal parts embarrassed and determined. "So how do we do this?" I asked. "I think you measure from the base to the tip, on the top side." "You think?" "I don't know, I've never done this before." Despite the absurdity of the situation, I laughed. "Okay, so you get hard, I guess, and then I measure." "Right, yeah, give me a minute." He left again, and I heard his bedroom door close. I sat on my bed, staring at the tape measure in my hand, wondering what alternate universe I'd stumbled into where this was happening. This was going to be fine, professional, clinical, like a doctor's appointment, but with more awkwardness and sexual tension. Wait, no sexual tension. There was no sexual tension. This was just a favor for a friend. Marcus's door opened and he came back into my room. He was wearing his pajama pants and looking determinedly at the ceiling. "Okay, I'm ready." "You're sure about this?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." He took a deep breath. "Just make it quick." "Right, quick, I can do quick." He pushed his pants down. Oh God. Oh God, oh God, oh God. Above average had been an understatement. Marcus was blessed, generously, abundantly blessed. Are you going to measure or just stare? Marcus asked, still looking at the ceiling. Right, sorry, measuring. I knelt down, which in hindsight was a terrible position choice because now I was eye level with his dick, and tried to remember how to use a tape measure. Okay, so base to tip, you said. That's what the internet told me. I pressed the tape measure to the base, trying very hard to keep my hands steady and my breathing normal and to not think about the fact that I was literally millimeters away from my crush's dick. 7.5 inches, I said, my voice only slightly strangled. Yeah, that's good, right? That's definitely above average. Cool, thanks. He pulled his pants back up quickly. I really appreciate this, I know it was weird. It's fine, I stood up, handing him back the tape measure, happy to help. We stood there awkwardly for a moment. I should probably go tell her, Marcus said. Right, yeah, go do that. He left and I collapsed onto my bed, face first into my pillow and screamed. This was officially the most sexually frustrated I'd ever been in my entire life. The end. If this story touched your heart, show your support by liking this video. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories like this. Your support keeps these stories alive, thank you.